Welcome back, Daisy Cakes! Today I'm going to be looking at the 1967 Nebula Awards. Why? Because I am Daisy X Machina, the drag queen detective who investigates all things speculative in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Now, as you may know, I've been doing the same thing with the Hugo Awards, going through some of the older awards and picking one new author or book from the nominees, not necessarily the winners, because I want to find new books or authors that I haven't read before. Someone suggested, I believe it was Lynette, that I also do the Nebulas, which I'm very excited about because I think the Nebulas have maybe a little bit more gravitas than the Hugos, because the Nebulas are awarded by other writers. So it's kind of the peers of the writers that are giving the award out, unlike the Hugos, which is the readers who go to the Worldcon convention and vote for their favorite book. So I'm going to start with the year 1967 because the prior 2 years, 1965 had 13 nominees, and that was too much. I didn't want to do 13 nominees. The next year, there were only 3 nominees, and I've read all of them. It was Samuel R. Delany's Babel 17, Daniel Keyes' Flowers for Algernon, Robert Heinlein's Muda's Harsh Mistress. It was tied between Babel 17 and Flowers for Algernon. So we're going to start with 1967. Now, one weird thing about the Nebula Awards is that the year they're awarded is the year after they're listed as the nominees. So 1967 was actually awarded in 1968. I think later down the road they changed it. I personally prefer the way the Hugos do it. The year they're awarded is the year they're listed, so there's no muss, no fuss. Nebulas have to be different. Doesn't matter, we're starting with what is officially their 1967 nominees. I'll read the nominees, tell you who won, but then pick a book, not necessarily the book that won. Okay, so let's get started with the 1967 Nebula Awards. The nominees are Chthon by Piers Anthony, The Eskimo Invasion by Hayden Howard, Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny, Thorns by Robert Silverberg, and The Einstein Intersection by Samuel R. Delany. And the winner is The Einstein Intersection by Samuel R. Delany. Now let's start with the winner, The Einstein Intersection. I'm a big fan of Delany. I don't believe I've read this novel, which makes me very curious about it. Let's go ahead and read the blurb. A non-human race reimagines human mythology. The Einstein Intersection won the Nebula for Best Science Fiction Novel of 1967. The surface story tells of the problems a member of an alien race, Lo Lobi, has assimilating the mythology of Earth, where his kind have settled among the leftover artifacts of humanity. The deeper tale concerns, however, the way those who are different must deal with the dominant cultural ideology. The tale follows Lobi's mythic quest for his lost love Frieza. In luminous and hallucinated language, it explores what new myths might emerge from the detritus of the human world as those who are different try to seize history and the day. Okay, if you don't know who Samuel R. Delany is, he's a queer black science fiction writer from the New Wave era of science fiction, and his writing prose-wise is amazing, and I am really intrigued by this because I am fairly sure I have not read it. So, very curious about this one. Next up is Chthon by Piers Anthony, and I've already read this one. I'm a huge Piers Anthony fan back when he first did Spell for Chameleon. The first three Xanth novels, I think, is a fantastic trilogy. They get a little repetitive afterwards. But I was really curious with Piers Anthony, so I read a lot of his older stuff back in the 80s. And one of them was Chthon, and I did enjoy this. But let's go ahead and read the blurb. Chthon was Piers Anthony's first published novel in 1967, written over the course of 7 years. He started it when he was in the U.S. Army, so it has a long prison sequence that is reminiscent of that experience being dark and grim. It features Chthon 5, a spaceman who commits the crime of falling in love with the dangerous, alluring mignonette and is therefore condemned to death in the subterranean prison of Chthon. It uses flashbacks to show how he came to know the mignonette and flash forwards to show how he dealt with her after his escape from prison. The author regards this as perhaps the most intricately structured novel the science fiction fantasy genre has seen. It was a contender for awards, but not a winner. Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've read Chthon, but I do remember enjoying it. The description sounds a lot darker than I remember, but if you have recently read it, let me know what you think. Okay, next up is The Eskimo Invasion by Hayden Howard. I don't know this author. The title probably means it might be a little bit dated, but I'm always curious to find an older science fiction author I haven't heard of before. Let's go ahead and read the blurb. Dr. West was puzzled, frustrated, and mad. He knew something was wrong up there in Boothia Sanctuary, but what? Why really did the government want to keep him out? He didn't for a moment believe the spurious political excuse of preserving a cultural sanctuary intact. What were they hiding? What could possibly be wrong with a harmless, lovable group of Eskimos? Dr. West could never leave a puzzle alone. Besides, if he went up there, maybe he could get proof of something. Ultimately, even when he did, no one believed him. Okay, even after reading that blurb, I'm not sure what this book is about. That sounded very convoluted. And again, a lovable group of Eskimos is probably going to be a little bit dated for the modern reader. I don't think I'm going to be picking this one. Next up is Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny. I've picked a Zelazny book before, This Immortal, for my Hugo Award series, and I'm a huge fan of the Amber Chronicles, and I know of Lord of Light. I don't believe I've actually read it, though, so I may pick this one, even though I'm very familiar with the author, and I'm actually familiar with the book because I've read about Lord of Light so much. But let's read the blurb. Earth is long since dead. On a colony planet, a band of men has gained control of technology, made themselves immortal, and now rule the world as the gods of the Hindu pantheon. Only one dares oppose them, he who was once Siddhartha, and is now Mahasamatman, binder of demons, Lord of Light. This is rightly called a science fiction classic. I don't know if I'm going to pick it for this challenge, but it's definitely a book I really need to read. Finally, Thorns by Robert Silverberg. Now, I have read Lord Valentine's Castle, and I believe the sequel, Majapur Chronicle something, and I'm a huge fan of that. And Roger Silverberg is a big name in science fiction. I feel like I should be reading more of him. Let's go ahead and read the blurb for Thorns. Duncan Chalk is a monstrous media mogul with a vast appetite for other people's pain. He feeds off it and carefully nurtures it in order to feed it to the public. It is inevitable that Chalk should home in on Minner Burris, a space traveler whose body was taken apart by alien surgeons and then put back together again differently. Burris's pain is constant, and so is that of Lona Kelvin, used by scientists to supply eggs for 100 children and then ruthlessly discarded. Only an emotional vampire like Chalk can see the huge audience eager to watch the relationship develop between these two damaged people. And only Chalk could make it happen, first published in 1967. Okay, that sounds wild. I think it is very, very dark, or it sounds very, very dark. Not sure I'm in the mood for that type of novel today. So, looking at all the nominees, I think it's coming down to The Einstein Intersection by Samuel R. Delany, which won, and Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny, which I know a lot about already, and is definitely a book that I need to read. But for this challenge, I think since I've already done a Zelazny video, I'm going to go ahead and pick Samuel R. Delany's The Einstein Intersection. I'm kind of excited about this because I haven't read Delany in a long time, and I know he's one of my favorite authors. So it's good to catch up on a novel of his that I haven't yet read. So I'm kind of excited to get back into reading Delany, especially one of his older books that I haven't read before. But what about you? What books have you read, or do you want to read, from the 1967 Nebula Nominees? Let me know down in the comments, and while you're there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Keep an eye out for next time when I do a review of Samuel R. Delany's The Einstein Intersection. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be